Hi, class. So, as you all know, we're going to begin reading a new book called Bud Not Buddy by Christopher Paul Curtis. And before reading, I want us to look at a few things so we can get a better understanding of what we're going to be reading. These few things are the setting of the book, the author's biography, the point of view, and a few vocabulary so we can get a better understanding of what we're going to read and what's going to be in the book. First, I want to take a look at the setting, and the general setting of the book takes place in Flint, Michigan, and Grand Rapids, Michigan in 1936, which was a long time ago. It's has a bit of a distance in time. The historical context of the book was during the Great Depression, which lasted from October 1929 to 1939. History.com says that it began after the stock market crash of 1929, which sent Wall Street into a panic and wiped out millions of investors. Consumer spending and investment dropped, causing steep declines in industrial output and employment as failing companies laid off workers. Effects of the Great Depression include over 15 million Americans were unemployed, banks closed, homelessness, which included shelters and free meals, being overcrowded, long lines. Bread lines and soup kitchens were also very long. Farmers couldn't even afford to harvest their foods. The African Americans during the Great Depression faced harder hardships because African Americans who worked farms and domestic work were not included in the 1935 Social Security Act. They didn't receive unemployment insurance if they were fired. Private employers would pay them extremely low wages without having legal consequences. African Americans that did qualify for the relief programs in the Social Security Act received discrimination. So now we're going to talk about the author, Christopher Paul Curtis. He was born on May 10th, 1935 in Flint, Michigan. His father was Dr. Herman E. Curtis. His mother was Leslie Curtis. They both, as you can see, had nice jobs, so he wasn't very poor. He attended the University of Flint, Michigan while working in the automobile factory and graduated college in 2000. He worked at Flint Fisher Body Plant until he wanted to write his first novel called The Watsons Go to Birmingham. His second book was Bud Not Buddy, which we will be reading. It's a fictional story around the life of his grandfather, Herman Curtis, who was the leader of the band Herman Curtis and the Dusty Devastators of the Depression. And this was around the 1930s. It's pretty cool that his book is about his grandfather. The point of view of this book is in first person, as Bud is the leader of the book. He writes this, he talks about his experience, and we view them through his eyes because he's telling his perspective. And a point of view is the perspective of the narrator in relation to the events of the story. I gave you a little list of all the point of views that exist, And like I said, Bud is written in first person. This is Hooverville. When we begin reading, we'll um, see a lot of references to it. And this is just to show you what Hooverville is. It's a shanty town built by unemployed and destitute people. It's basically where homeless people live during the Great Depression. Here's a few vocabulary. If you see depression, you know it's referencing to the Great Depression. Commence means to start. Laboratory means bathroom. Ingratitude, being ungrateful. Ilk, family or kind. Rev, to accelerate quickly. Spigot, something that controls the flow of liquid from a container or pipe. Kin, a person's relative, family. On the next slide is just references I had. Should come up in a second. Works cited. And there you go.